Hey, what's up guys? Everything Apple Pro here, and boy do I have a leaks update for you today. So a lot of news, a lot of happenings. The iPhone 9 event, we have the actual date, some more leaks on that. A lot of iPhone 12 stuff. iPad Pros are coming sooner than we thought. There's a new AirPods Pro Lite and a lot of other news. So let's get into that. It's a very exciting week for us. We're launching our cases on Thursday, so pre-orders. I'll have an actual ship date for you before Thursday. Right now we don't know. The outbreak threw a wrench in the plans of Apple even in terms of manufacturing in China. It's pretty bad out there. But we'll give you an update on that soon. Also, we are still running the giveaway for 5 AirPod Pros, 3 Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultras, and the titanium case. Details on that down below. Now, first and foremost, let's start with the iPhone 9. A German website seems to think that Apple will be holding an event on March 31st to launch their new 4.7-inch iPhone SE2 replacement, which is supposedly going to be called the iPhone 9. They're saying they'll be launching it on April 3rd. Thank goodness it's not on April 4th. Everyone would think that's a joke. And I would expect Apple to start sending out invites fairly soon here. Also, Ming-Chi Kuo published a report on the iPhone 9. Despite the coronavirus outbreak, the launch is supposedly still happening the first half of 2020, and he gave an interesting detail here. The lens on the iPhone 9 will remain a 6-element plastic lens like the iPhone 7 and 8 before it, and this is to reduce complexity on this new phone, and that would add further delays on top of the outbreak delays that Apple is currently experiencing. And that's an interesting note because it's very likely this will be the exact same design as the iPhone 8 series, which would save Apple a lot of money in manufacturing costs, and not to mention the price is staying at $399. This has further been confirmed again by Fast Company. So it literally is a follow-up to the iPhone SE, same price, same strategy of just taking the same shell of an older phone and refitting it with newer internals. And that's a good thing. I mean, that's how you keep the prices low, and I'm actually very excited for that device. And case makers are already preparing cases for this supposed iPhone SE2 is what they're calling it, and that's a very easy case for them to make, as the only difference is that the iPhone will be 0.5 millimeters thicker, which shouldn't really make a difference in the case. Some older ones will still fit, and whether or not it'll be called the SE2 or iPhone 9, it seems up for debate right now between these case companies. But let me know what you guys think, iPhone 9 or SE2. And in a new report by Digitimes, they're claiming that the new iPad Pro will be releasing around March, which perfectly coincides with the rumor that Apple will be holding an event on March 31st where they'll announce these new iPads. Also from Digitimes, a report from earlier last week says that the iPad Pros will be happening in fall. So they have since revised that. But in that report, they detailed that a 5nm A14X chip is coming on the iPad Pros. So that's going to be an absolute powerhouse. I can't wait to see what it's capable of, knowing what the A12X can produce right now. Also included in the report is that these iPads will support sub 6 GHz and millimeter wave 5G technology. And also a product I'm really looking forward to, hoping to see it at this event, is the Apple AirTag. This was leaked long ago, before the iPhone 11 Pro was even launched, and it'll use the U1 chip to be able to locate items precisely indoors, presumably on a keychain. You'll be able to stick it to things. Just a very fun little solution and a great take against tile. And Digitimes has been on a roll. In a separate report, they did mention AirPods Pro Lite. Amongst several products Apple is working on for the first half of 2020, apparently we'll be seeing a refreshed version of AirPods. They're calling them AirPods Pro Lite. Now, Mark Gurman quickly commented on this. By the way, I met him at the Samsung event. That was a really great moment for me. He's a hero of mine in the Apple leaks scene. But anyways, he did mention that this is most likely just referring to original AirPods. Now, what's possible is that they meant that Apple would be refreshing AirPods 2 and developing AirPods 3. So a slightly improved version of AirPods 2, possibly with a new H2 chip. I don't know what they could possibly improve on it. Maybe the new Bluetooth LE standard. I'm really not sure here. Another far out thought I had is, could these be the AirPods that Apple is developing to be low cost to include with the 2020 iPhones? Also mentioned in a follow-up article by Digitimes, AirPods Pro Lite will not be going into production until after Q2. They were originally planned for Q2, so it's possible we could be seeing them at the same time as the iPhone 12 Pro release. And an interesting study provided by Counterpoint Research is saying that Apple is primed to sell 100 million pairs of AirPods in 2020. Now, for comparison, they sold 130 million in 2019. They are just killing it, absolutely dominating with their AirPods line, and that isn't stopping anytime soon. I also wanted to talk about Car Key. So it's a feature coming to the iPhone eventually, we don't know when. It was found in the beta build of iOS 13.4 by Steve Moser, and it really shines a light on the future and what's going to be happening. You really won't need to carry around keys for a car anymore, much like on a Tesla, but pretty much on every car. Apple wants to create a standard, a car key solution using NFC, starting with iOS 13.4 possibly. Apple might add that then or wait until the iPhone 12 Pro launch, but essentially you'll just walk up to your car, you'll be able to unlock it with a Face ID authentication, and then you can start the engine and drive away. And that's a very exciting prospect for the future. Now, taking that even further, the U1 chip inside of the iPhone 11 Pro right now, Apple isn't really doing much with it. There's a feature for AirDrop, and that's it. Could make this so much better. The U1 chip would work from a distance, not NFC distance. You can actually just walk up to your car and the doors could open. You know, there's some features that Apple could work with car manufacturers to implement there, and that makes me excited as a car guy. Not to mention, with a U1 chip, if you have HomePods in separate rooms and you're playing music, walking throughout the house could activate music in different areas. It's a very exciting piece of tech that's in an iPhone and really hasn't been activated yet. All right, now moving on to the iPhone 12 stuff. So MacOtakara earlier did share these 3 models of the supposed iPhone 12 models coming this year. In it is a 5.3 inch, which is the 5.4 inch iPhone 12. Then there's a 6.1 inch and the supposed 6.7 inch, but the sizes are all misaligned. It's unclear if these are actual CAD models and have been printed, or if these are just an estimation, fan-made render, but it does give us an interesting look at what Apple could potentially be releasing. In particular, the 5.4 inch looks pretty good. The sensors seem a little bit bigger than the iPhone 11 Pro series, and that's why this could be legitimate, as we did hear from an earlier report that they would be growing. It's a cool look at a potential squared off design that the iPhone 12 is supposed to adopt, according to rumors. Now, one interesting detail I noticed is that on the 6.7 inch, looking at the flash, it appears that it might be a ring type flash, where the flash might encircle a feature, potentially the 3D camera or the mic. And as a result, we've changed our iPhone concept to accommodate this, just to give you a visual, and it doesn't look too bad. Now, I wouldn't put it past Apple that they do this, as one of the original iPhone 11 Pro prototypes from back in January of 2019, one that Apple was actually actively debating whether or not to use, had a ring flash, and that never materialized. So Apple was looking at that technology. It's possible they could add it to this year's iPhone, or at the very least the 6.7 inch. And also an interesting detail is looking at the speaker ports on these models, they're still asymmetrical. Now, in an earlier report from MacOtakara, they did mention that Apple would be making the speaker ports more uniform. And what I took that as is that they would be symmetrical. Apple would go back to having the same amount of speaker holes on both sides. These models do not reflect that change though. And also in our latest concept, we did change the camera on the 6.7 inch iPhone to be larger, about 15%. This is reflecting the leak from MacOtakara, where they said the camera sensor would be getting larger. So just to give you an idea of how that would look, and I'd say it doesn't look too bad. It's only natural that the camera will keep evolving, so I don't put it past Apple to make that larger this year. And a new report by Fast Company is detailing how Apple will be building their own antenna for the 5G modems inside of the 2020 iPhones. Originally, they gave that job to Qualcomm. Not only would they be providing a modem, but also the antenna with it, the QTM525. Apparently, Apple engineers balked at the design of this, that it was too large to fit inside of their sleek and industrial design of the iPhone 12, and as a result, Apple will be developing their own. I thought that was interesting. Looking at the actual pictures, it does look a little bulky here, and hopefully this doesn't mean poor cellular reception or speeds, as it's Apple's first generation 5G modem antenna. An interesting detail also mentioned by Fast Company is that Apple is working on an alternate prototype that will be incorporating this antenna from Qualcomm, but as a result, the iPhones will be thicker. So it's possible that this year's iPhones will not be getting thinner, as earlier mentioned. At least the 6.7 inch model would be getting considerably thinner versus the 11 Pro Max. Apple is really pushing the engineering edge here, and they certainly don't want Qualcomm to throw a wrench in their plans. Fast Company also mentions that Apple is developing a phased array antenna for the 2025G iPhones. And what that means is without moving the antenna, like in the old days when you had to extend it out of your flip phone, it can electronically steer the signal without moving the antenna bit. And DigiTimes mentions that coronavirus will not affect the launch timeframe of the iPhone 12, but it will affect the release day. So Apple will still launch the iPhone 12 in September as planned, as usual, but it's possible we may see a delay for the actual shipping of this product by up to a month. We've seen this before with the iPhone X, so it's nothing unusual and it's totally understandable. Also wanted to mention the leaked Google Pixel 5 from John over at Front Page Tech, and I think it's so interesting. I personally like it. It's crazy, but I just feel like this year we're gonna be seeing crazy designs. Companies are trying to stand out compared to Apple's crazy design for the iPhone 11 Pro, and we're seeing stuff like this as a result. And some trivia to leave it off with. Yes, we knew that the original iPhone processor was multitudes faster than the Apollo 11 computer used to land man on the moon, but did you know that your iPhone charger has more power than that very same computer? All right, guys, that's the latest. I have a huge update for you this weekend. Stay tuned and see you at pre-orders, guys. Thank you for everybody pre-ordering and supporting. Peace.